My name is Dulce Valencia, and welcome to Telenovelas con Dulce, a podcast where every week I invite special guests to break down the telenovelas we love, from the music to the cast to the unforgettable plot twist.
Every slap, every imbécile, every secret twin.
I have got you covered. Bienvenidos and welcome to another special episode of Telenovelas con Dulce. I'm Dulce Valencia, I'm your host. And this episode's gonna be a little different. If you've been following along, shout out to you. Thank you so much for listening. Please don't forget to leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts and tell us how amazing we are, or how we can improve. Give us any suggestions you have. I am an actor, so I'm used to constructive criticism, so I welcome it, I encourage it. But anyway, welcome back to another episode. Before I get started, I want to give a humongous thank you to my guest for 5 episodes, the wonderful, the brilliant, the talented Kimberly Michelle Padilla Estrada. If you've been following along, last week we finished our rewatch and our recap of the 2004 telenovela Ruby, and let me just say, it was so much fun. And Kimberly, you brought so many good opinions, so many good thoughts, so many disagreements with me, but it was so much fun to watch Ruby with you and get to start the podcast with you. So I want to send you a huge thank you. I know I said it to you in person like a million times, but yeah, I just want to reiterate how grateful I am to you for starting this journey with me. So everyone, say thank you to Kim because she deserves it. So, as I mentioned, this episode is going to be a little different because I am currently in between telenovelas. So, last week we finished Ruby, and right now I already started the new telenovela that I'm going to be talking about and dissecting with you all, which I will be announcing before the episode ends. But for this episode, it's just gonna be me, so you all are just gonna have to listen to my voice for the next few minutes. I don't know how long this episode's gonna be, maybe like 30 minutes, I'm assuming. We'll see. But for this episode, I am going to be answering some frequently asked questions. I am going to give you all some of my telenovela recommendations. I'm going to be reading some fabulous TikTok comments because, y'all, I got a TikTok and that's where the fun's at. It's been so much fun getting to interact with other telenovela lovers and just talking about telenovelas with people on the internet. And finally, I will be announcing what my next telenovela will be, as well as who my special guest is going to be and a special collab I'll be doing. So, let's get started. So first thing on my list is questions. The number one question I have been getting is, where do I watch telenovelas? And dear listener, I am more than willing to answer this question for you. So the top place that I watch telenovelas is YouTube. It's my favorite place to watch them because it has the biggest catalog of telenovelas available, and oftentimes you can find full episodes and in good quality on YouTube. For Ruby, Kim and I both primarily watched it on YouTube. In the show notes, I'll be linking up what account we used and where we watched it. We found the full episodes. They were really high quality and it was just love it. 10 out of 10 recommend. The thing with YouTube though is that the quality is not always there. So there are some cons, like the quality is not always there. Sometimes episodes are missing. Oftentimes the telenovelas are shortened, or what a lot of accounts will do is they will narrow down the story to the main couple. So for example, there's this telenovela I love watching called Al Diablo con los Guapos. And whenever I try to rewatch it, I always watch it from a YouTube account that just narrows it down to the main story of Milagros and Alejandro. So basically I just watch their story. So every episode gets reduced to like 10 minutes of content. And so you miss a lot of the story. And especially in a telenovela like Al Diablo con los Guapos, shows that has so many fun side characters and supporting cast members that have really fulfilling and like really well written and thought out storylines. Like, I miss watching that and I want to watch that. So it's not my favorite, but it's what's available. Yeah, so YouTube is my primary recommendation for watching telenovelas if you want a larger catalog of what's available. So my second recommendation is Unimas. Unimas is a streaming service that Univision does, and you pay, I believe it's $10.99 per month to watch telenovelas. And this is where I watch a lot of my newer telenovelas because I can't always watch telenovelas as they air. So what I'll do is I pay for the subscription, it's $10.99, and I watch telenovelas there. They have newer telenovelas, they have full episodes, and the quality is excellent. However, this program is not perfect because Unimas only has telenovelas that are released by Univision or Televisa. So one thing to note is that telenovelas, different countries produce telenovelas, but the primary production companies for telenovelas right now are Televisa and Telemundo. Televisa is based in Mexico City, and they do most of the classic telenovelas, I'll say, come from Televisa, and they're exports of Mexico. So they have Mexican casts. I mean, not always, but most of the time. Yeah, they're just based out of Mexico. Telemundo is newer, and they are doing more modern telenovelas where oh my god, I'm about to give y'all a history lesson. Okay, so Telemundo used to always compete with Televisa and Univision. Televisa and Univision are basically the same thing. Univision is just the branch in the United States that streams all the telenovelas. But Telemundo was like newer. They're the Spanish branch of NBC Universal. And so they were doing telenovelas, and they weren't as successful. Like the stories weren't as popular as Televisa's stories. And Televisa's stories were very, I don't want to say one-dimensional because they're not at all, but there was a formula, and the formula worked. And the formula for Televisa was, we had a poor girl who was going to fall in love with a rich guy. There's going to be some big secret, and these telenovelas, good always won, and blah, 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 blah. I love it. You all know me. I love this story works. The formula works for me. And then Telemundo would do more modern telenovelas. Their telenovelas were similar, but they instead of being set in El Rancho, for example, they would be set in Miami, which is where a lot of Telemundo telenovelas were filmed, or in Texas, or even LA. So these telenovelas were more for like English-speaking audiences or immigrant audiences living in the United States. But then something happened. Telemundo did a telenovela called La Reina del Sur. La Reina del Sur was a telenovela based on Teresa Mendoza. Teresa Mendoza is a character in this book, and she's a drug trafficking queen. Like literally, like that's how she's described, because I'm so butchering this. Okay, so basically, Teresa Mendoza, right? She's this poor woman from Mexico who's in love with this guy. The guy gets killed. He's involved with some drug traffickers, and Teresa has to escape because they're trying to kill her. She escapes to Spain, where in Spain she has to enter this world of drug trafficking, and she begins drug trafficking herself. And in the story, she becomes like the queen of drug trafficking. There's a corrido, which is a song, a traditional song, where she's described as how she's able to export drugs to Mexico, all over Europe, and even Russia. So she's really good at it. So this telenovela completely changed the game as to what telenovelas could be, because this telenovela was more modern. It featured a heroine who wasn't a goody two-shoes. Like she was literally doing crime. She was extorting people, she was selling drugs, she was trafficking. You know, she wasn't a perfect human being. And it also featured more international locations. Like this telenovela was filmed not only in Mexico, but all over Europe. And it was a huge hit. Like, I think NPR even did an episode on this telenovela talking about how it reinvigorated telenovelas, and it really made Telemundo a true competitor against Univision and Televisa. So this telenovela launched this what we call the narconovela movement. So all of a sudden that we see all these telenovelas start to talk about drug traffickers, and to an extent where it's been accused of glorifying drug trafficking and everything. So there's its criticisms that some points that I agree with, but it was huge with audiences. My mom, to this day, she still will watch La Reina del Sur on her phone in the morning. So we saw telenovelas like La Reina del Sur, El Señor de los Cielos, Sin Senos No Hay Paraíso. These telenovelas had dealt with drug trafficking and more complex and complicated characters, and they came to be more popular. So all this rant to say that in Unimas you will not find Telemundo's telenovelas because they are not a part of Televisa and therefore they are not streamed there. So basically that's the biggest con when it comes to paying for the streaming platform for Unimas, that you will only find telenovelas from Televisa. That being said, there is a very large catalog of telenovelas available. Not every telenovela is available though, some classic ones, I think Al Diablo con los Guapos actually isn't available on Unimas. So again, there's pros and cons to this. I will say, if you want to watch Telemundo telenovelas, they're also available on YouTube. One telenovela that I recently watched from Telemundo was Celia, and that's available on Peacock. And another Telemundo telenovela that I recently watched called Tierra de Reyes, that's on Hulu. So you can find it elsewhere. Telemundo telenovelas are more spread out through streaming platforms, but yeah, you have to look for them. All right. And then there's two more places that you can watch telenovelas. The other way you can watch it is by buying the DVD version. This part has, I'm not the biggest fan of this. It's great if you have a DVD player, which I didn't. I had to buy one for my computer, an extension DVD player, and it was a mess. I bought a really cheap version, and I said the F word. I bought a really cheap one and it messed up my DVD. So I bought Ruby and I bought La Madrastra on DVD. Pros for buying the DVD version: you get good quality. You get bonus footage. That's how me and Kim watched the original 1968 version of Ruby, is because there was extra bonus footage. That's how we saw the bonus episode. So it has some cool stuff. Cons though, it's not the full episode. I mean, how can you fit 115 hours of television into 4 CDs or DVDs? So it's not the full telenovela. It's very shortened version. It basically gives you the highlights, but this could also be a pro because if you are pressed on time and you don't have 115 hours to just watch telenovelas, then you might want to get a DVD version. Another con though is that not every telenovela has a DVD version, especially as we shifted into digital. I think they stopped producing the DVD versions of a lot of telenovelas. So newer telenovelas you probably won't find in the DVD version, but you will find some of the classics, and those are the ones that I stock up on whenever I can. All right, the last place that you can watch telenovelas, and this is the only way I don't watch telenovelas, is if you have cable. So there are certain cable channels, and I know this because my TikTok followers have told me. You can watch telenovelas on certain cable channels. I think TV Azteca airs reruns of older telenovelas, and there's a secondary Univision channel where you can watch older telenovela reruns. Obviously, pro is that you get to watch full episodes and that it's right there. Cons is that you basically have to hope that the telenovela you want to watch is being re-aired. And, they don't re-air them all at the same time because there's literally thousands of telenovelas available. So those are the primary ways that you can watch telenovelas. My personal favorite, obviously, is YouTube, and then the rest follow. So that answers that. The second question I get asked mostly is, what telenovela should I watch? So this is a part where I will give you some telenovela recommendations. So I love telenovelas. Y'all know that. I literally, obviously, I have a podcast all about telenovelas, so I love them. I have a lot of recommendations. So I've narrowed down my recommendations to 5 different telenovelas, and this is not including Ruby because I think my endorsement of Ruby is pretty obvious at this point that I've spent, 5 podcast episodes talking about it. So here are my recommendations in no particular order. The first one is Al Diablo con los Guapos. Al Diablo con los Guapos came out in 2007 when I was I don't know, 10 years old. And it's the classic telenovela of poor girl meets rich guy and falls in love with him. However, this telenovela had some of the best secondary characters. It had some of the best storylines. It was full of crazy plot twists. It was so good, and it really marked my childhood watching this telenovela. I credit it for starting my love of toxic enemies to lovers plotlines. So Mili and Alejandro, who are our two main characters, they start off not liking each other very much, but of course, what can this mean is that they're gonna fall in love with each other. Mili is this very humble young girl who is full of life. She's always like looking for a quick buck. She is very mischievous. I don't know how to pronounce that word. You get what I'm saying. So yeah, she's just really spunky, and I love that for her. And Alejandro is this rich boy who has all these daddy issues. And spoiler alert, his dad is actually not his real dad. He ends up being Milagros' real dad. It's this whole convoluted storyline, but basically the reasons I recommend this is because it has an excellent storyline, has excellent actors, excellent supporting characters, and there's all these twists and turns that you don't see coming that really elevate the story, and it's a comedy. So there's a lot of really funny scenes in it. So I really recommend it. I love it. You can watch it on YouTube. As I said, the one I watch, it has just Milagros and Alejandro's main storyline. I'll also link it in the show notes. But I'm pretty sure you can find the other storylines too if you look for them. And you can also buy the DVD version, which I also did. So yeah, I really like Al Diablo con los Guapos, and I really recommend it. Alright, my second telenovela recommendation is Celia. Celia is a 2015 telenovela that is a biopic. It basically, I don't know if I said that right, but it's the story of Celia Cruz. Celia Cruz, if you don't know, was a super duper famous Cuban singer. She was the queen of salsa. She was amazing. Love her. Broke so many barriers. And there's a telenovela version of her life. Obviously, it's super fictionalized. It glosses over a lot of stuff, but I also found it very moving, very eye-opening. It talks a lot about what it was like for her to grow up in a Cuba that discriminated against Black people. And it's also one of the very few telenovelas to feature Afro-Latino actors as leads. So, we've kind of glossed over it in the podcast, which is my fault, but we should probably hone in on more, is the colorism that exists in Latin American telenovelas. So Latinos, Latinx people come in all shades of the spectrum, of the color spectrum. But if you look at our media and our telenovelas, you would think the Latinos are just light-skinned white people, basically. No. I don't know how much more obvious I can be, but no, there's a huge population of Black Latinos who are not being represented in media, who are not seen, and also a huge population of indigenous Latinos that are also not portrayed in media. So that is something that's super lacking in our media, and Celia is one of the very few telenovelas that actually has lead actors played by Afro-Latino actors. Incredible actors, I will add. This telenovela made me laugh and it made me cry a lot, which is not difficult to do since I am a Cancer moon, so I'm super emotional in general and I cry about everything. But this telenovela made me cry. If you know Celia's story, you know that Celia at one point left Cuba, her homeland, and she never returned. She was exiled from Cuba and she never got to see her country again. And as an immigrant living in the United States, I left my homeland and I don't know if I'll ever get to see it again. I certainly hope so, but I don't know. And so that part where she's literally crawling under the fence of Guantanamo Bay, trying to get pieces of dirt from Cuba, yeah, it makes me cry every time. But Celia, highly recommend it. For the music, for the actors, for the story. I will add a disclaimer or a warning. They do whitewash the character of La Lupe. It's something that I didn't notice because I didn't realize that they had adapted that character to be a different character, if that makes any sense. But it's something that I was made aware of recently was that they did whitewash a character. So, there's still a lot of progress that has to be made. Alright, my third telenovela recommendation is Yo no creo en los hombres. This telenovela is a 2014 telenovela produced by Giselle Gonzalez. Y'all, I am such a fan of Giselle Gonzalez as a producer because she has produced some of the greatest telenovelas of recent times. I think I have another telenovela on my top 5 recommendation list because she's so good at telenovelas. So Yo No Creo en los Hombres tells the story of a young woman who makes dresses and her relationship with this lawyer. They meet as friends, but it's a telenovela, so they're gonna fall in love. And that is as basic of a storyline as I can give it to you all without spoiling. All I will say is that this telenovela, it tells a more modern story. This story, it was critically acclaimed, considered one of the best telenovelas of the decade. It was the most awarded telenovela of the season. It's just, the title translates to I don't believe in men anymore. Need I say more? I feel like I'm not doing a good job at explaining at what Yo No Creo en los Hombres was about, but just know that it features an incredible cast. The storyline is, you don't know where it's gonna go. It's not your traditional telenovela in the sense that you know that the good person is gonna win and that we're gonna get a really big happy ending with a wedding. Like, that is not the telenovela you're signing up for. Go at it just knowing that it's not your typical telenovela, and that is why you should watch it. And speaking of not your typical telenovela, I am gonna go to Cuna de Lobos. Cuna de Lobos is also a telenovela produced by Giselle Gonzalez. Cuna de Lobos is a 2019 telenovela. It's an adaptation of the 1986 telenovela of the same name. All I'm gonna tell y'all is that, again, this is a telenovela that is nothing like telenovelas you would think of. One, it's shorter. It's only 25 episodes, so if you want to watch a telenovela but aren't ready to make a 115 episode commitment, I highly recommend this telenovela because it's only 25 episodes. It's a super fast watch. You can watch it on Unimas. And this features one of the most iconic villains of Mexican telenovelas, and that is the villainess. Catalina Creal is a villain that wears an eye patch. I was about to spoil something for y'all, but I won't spoil it. I'll just, if you're so inclined to, I'll let you watch it. But she's one of the most iconic villains of all time, and I say watch this telenovela for the ending. The ending of this telenovela is the most surprising telenovela ending I have ever seen. It breaks all the rules of what telenovela endings should be, and wow, it left me with my jaw on the floor, and I still talk about this ending all the time to anyone who will listen. So watch this telenovela. Alright, so finally, my last recommendation for telenovelas, and I realized that I've already been talking for like half an hour. So y'all, I've been talking for like half an hour. I said this was gonna be a shorter episode, but clearly I love talking, so I'm just gonna keep talking. So, Amor Real. Amor Real is a 2003 telenovela. It's a historical telenovela produced by Carla Estrada. Carla Estrada is also one of the most successful, famous Mexican telenovela producers. This telenovela was huge. It was huge in Mexico. It's a telenovela de época, which means a historical telenovela set in post-Mexican independence, so like the 19th century. And it tells the story of Matilde, a young woman who's in love with this soldier who's poor, but because he's poor, her family doesn't let her be with him, so she is forced to marry this rich guy, played by Fernando Colunga. Fernando Colunga, king of telenovelas. Matilde, portrayed by Adela Noriega, queen of telenovelas. So this couple is just a couple that works. So yeah, she's in love with a poor guy, forced to marry a rich guy. Who will she choose, and will true love truly conquer it all? It's an older telenovela, so you kind of know where this is heading. But it's a really good scene. The fight scenes are amazing. There's a lot of war scenes. The costumes are great. The actors are great, and the storyline is iconic. The story has been adapted like 3 different times in recent years. So this telenovela is it's amazing. You should watch it. And this wraps my segment on what telenovelas I recommend you watch and where you can watch them. I'm gonna take a short little break, and when I come back, I will be talking about TikTok. Alright, listeners, and we are back. Oh my god, I just said we because I miss Kim. Okay, so as I mentioned, I got a TikTok. I got a TikTok to promote the podcast, and it's been going really, really, really well. If you're listening from TikTok, leave me a comment on TikTok or leave a review. I don't know. Basically, just tell me that you exist. So yeah, so I've been on TikTok talking about telenovelas, promoting the podcast, and one of my posts, I asked people to leave a comment to be featured on the podcast. So now, in this segment, I will be reading some of the comments. So, the first comment I have is from Chica Bonita. Oh my god, Stephanie. Okay, so this is Stephanie Chicas. Shout out to her because she was the first person from TikTok to listen to the podcast and then tell me she listened to it. And I just want to say, Stephanie, if you're listening, thank you. You're amazing. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. And I love seeing your comments because you always have like something to say about the telenovelas. And yeah, just shout out to you. Okay. So she said, Te Sigo Amando was my first and most memorable telenovela to me. Juan Gabriel's song is already heart-shattering, y la protagonista suffered in all caps. Okay, I actually haven't seen Te Sigo Amando, so I'll take your word for it, Stephanie. I should watch it. But I just know that any telenovela that has a Juan Gabriel song, iconic already. And if the protagonist suffers, like, yeah, just I already know this is an iconic telenovela, so I'll add this to my list. And then she also said that La Mentira with Kate del Castillo and Guy Ecker was also fire, and that she should have not been watching these as a kid. All right. Stephanie, listener, there are so many telenovelas that as an adult that I'm rewatching, I'm like, how did I watch this when I was 7? How did I watch this when I was like 3? I have memories of telenovelas from when I was 3 years old, and I don't know if that's normal, but like I said, I have very little recollection of my childhood, but I do know telenovelas. And I too, Stephanie, I too wonder how my parents let me watch these telenovelas. So yeah, so shout out to Stephanie. Alright, so continuing on to these comments. Waffle Me said, oh my gosh, please do telenovelas juveniles. There are so many. Corazones al Límite, El Juego de la Vida, Rebelde en Camaleones. Oh my god, Waffle Me. Waffle_me. I agree. So y'all, telenovelas juveniles is what we call telenovelas that were geared towards younger audiences, like teenage audiences. And the ones she mentioned, like Corazones al Límite, El Juego de la Vida, Rebelde en Camaleones. Like Rebelde defined an entire generation and continues to define entire generations. So yes, eventually down the line, I do want to cover these telenovelas, but like Rebelde has like 400 episodes. That's a huge commitment, but I agree. These telenovelas are all good and y'all should check them out. Oh, Mayra! Y'all! Sorry, I'm just reading this comment. Mayra Malmaras said, OMG, in Una Familia con Suerte, Pancho temporarily dies because of the annoying lady putting him in the cell when he was in jail. Also, I love the podcast. Mayra, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. And y'all, Una Familia con Suerte, a lot of people think that this was one of the last good telenovelas. It was huge in Mexico. Like, I remember I saw Alejandra Guzman in concert and she sang the theme song for Una Familia con Suerte, and she threw down. So Mayra, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. And yeah, Una Familia con Suerte, iconic. We love to see it. Giovanna Merida said, Soy tu dueña, like Lucero was playing an iconic woman, and the kiss when she confessed her love to Miguel will forever be breathtaking. Oh, Soy tu dueña was such a good... I feel like I'm going to say this about every single telenovela, but it's literally how I feel. Soy tu dueña was such a good telenovela. Lucero and Fernando Colunga are an iconic couple together. They did like 3 telenovelas together. This was the second one where they played the main couple. And yes, they were so cute in this telenovela. And just Lucero in this one played such a hardened woman. Like, she is left at the altar by her fiance. And she becomes a very hardened woman after that. But of course, Fernando Colunga is gonna come along and love her and show her how to love again. Iconic. So yes, thank you, Giovanna Merida. Giovanna Merida also commented, Por ella soy Eva was another one. Jaime Camil was amazing playing Eva. Yes, I loved Por ella soy Eva. Por ella soy Eva was about Jaime Camil's character. If you watch Jane the Virgin, Jaime Camil plays Jane's father. And in an episode of Jane the Virgin, he also plays the character that he played in Por ella soy Eva for like one episode. It's It's a cameo that you only know if you watch telenovelas, which if you're like me, you know because you watch a lot of telenovelas. So yeah, so that was a really good telenovela. Jaime Camil was awesome, and I love that he's making a crossover into American audiences and getting the recognition he deserves across countries. Alright, I'm Sheila said, same story, different times, both amazing. Amor real en lo que la vida me robó. Yes, so as I mentioned in my telenovela recommendations, Amor Real was a super iconic story that's been adapted multiple times. The most recent one was Lo que la vida me robó, set in modern day, and it featured Angelique Boyer and Sebastián Rulli as the main couple. You guys, they were breathtaking together. They were amazing, and their chemistry was so real. There were so many rumors about them dating and being together because they had done another telenovela together before that called Teresa, and after they finished this one is when they confirmed that yes, that they were dating, and they're still together to this day, and they're just like the cutest couple. They're on TikTok, and they're also on Instagram, just always gassing each other up. We love to see it. Paula Lázaro said, my favorite telenovela is Pasión y Poder. An iconic telenovela moment for me is Triunfo del Amor, when she's in the hospital in Mexico. Oh my god, Paula Lázaro. I'm so happy you mentioned this because, well, one, Pasión y Poder, Fernando Colunga, Susana González. Iconic, amazing. Triunfo del Amor has this scene where the protagonist gets a virus and the love of her life risks contagion to basically hug and kiss her. And so the joke was that we're in a pandemic now, right? None of us got our max moment where someone risked their life to be with us. And I feel like telenovelas misled me on that one. Thank you, Paula Lázaro. Betty Cruz 96 says, my favorite is Amor Bravio. Andrés Duarte was such a romantic towards the love interest Camila, and I love that the novela isn't as long as they usually are. And Isadora, the evil one's ending was so good. I also love how Alonso is Isadora's son. The ending leaves you with so many mixed emotions. There are so many. Ugh, I love it. Yes, Betty. These are telenovelas. I feel like some leave us with such mixed emotions. Like, I know the Ruby ending left so many with mixed emotions. Like, there are a lot of people that didn't agree with the ending. I personally did, but I'm one of the few ones. Alright, moving on. Lilo Garcia said their favorite telenovela was Contraviento y Marea. Such a good one. And the song, also so good. Andy706 said, OMG, Amor Real, Beautiful Dresses, Una Familia con Suerte, Hilarious, Mi Pequeña Traviesa, Sortilegio, William Levy. Yes, as I mentioned, as you can see, Amor Real is super popular with people, so y'all give it a watch. And yes, William Levy, iconic actor. I feel like before Sebastián Rulli became like the big actor he is now, William Levy was it. But then he kind of stopped making telenovelas. But y'all, William Levy is doing a telenovela right now called Café con Aroma a Mujer, which is a retelling of Destilando Amor, which was a retelling of the original Café con Aroma de Mujer. I'm so excited for this telenovela. Cheesecake311 said Lazos de Amor, La Usurpadora, Nunca Te Olvidaré, and Marisol, all my childhood novelas, and Alma Rebelde. Yes, so many of these. Also, I love how all of these are your childhood telenovelas, but none of these are child appropriate by modern standards. So yes, iconic. Lizzie Cambreros said Teresa was her favorite telenovela. Iconic. Giselle Rivera 1014 said my favorite telenovela is El Diablo con los Guapos. See y'all, I'm giving y'all good telenovela recommendations. T117 said my favorite telenovelas are Lo que la vida me robó, Abrázame muy fuerte, Porque el amor manda, and Piel de Otoño. All good ones. Crisami said, my favorite telenovela will always be Mañanas para Siempre. The cast is just amazing. The character development and the storyline are just heart. Yes, Mañanas para Siempre also features Fernando Colunga, which I've mentioned him like 5 times in the last 5 minutes. But he's such an iconic actor. He was the king of telenovelas. I think I read a statistic about how his face is in a TV screen every like 3 seconds or some crazy fact like that. So yes, love it. Noray Sanchez said, La Dueña, that moment where Regina meets Jose Maria. Love that. Maria XO said, Teresa, she empowers. Y'all, if we are not making Teresa proud every single day, then what are we doing with our lives? Period. Sara Baeza 13 said, oh, I love this one. I named my daughter Gemma from La Usurpadora. I love that so much because my name is Dulce Yadira and my name came from a radio telenovela that my mom would listen to when she was growing up in Mexico. So I love that so much. And also, I've always said that I will name my daughter Azul, and I got that name from a telenovela as well. Amar Sin Límites, if anyone wants to know. Oh, Betty Cruz commented again, and she said, I love the songs in the novela by Carlos Macia, Amarte Si, Divina Tu, just the best. I love it. All right, and those are the comments that wanted to be featured on the podcast. I have one more that I love this, so I had to share, and this is from a different post I had. I posted about a telenovela called Una Familia con Suerte, and Fry666 said, this brought so many memories of me watching this novela at night with my mom and then going to school and talking about it with my friends. And I just love that because I've said it before. Telenovelas, there's a lot of progress that needs to be done with them. But I think at their best, telenovelas connect us, and it connects us to different generations. And this person commenting how she would, watch this telenovela at home with her parents, connecting already two generations together, and then go to school and talk about it with her friends just made me really happy because that's kind of how it was with me. Like, I used to watch telenovelas in Mexico with my tío Casimiro. My tío Casimiro, he lived next door, and he was this older, very firm, very strong gentleman, and we would watch telenovelas together and laugh and just like be frustrated at the main characters together. And I was like 10 watching telenovelas with him, and he was like in his 60s, and like my cousins and I would watch telenovelas with him, and I never got to see him again. He died a few years ago, and whenever I watched the telenovela that I remember watching with him, which was Amar Sin Límites, I think of him. And I think of those moments just sitting in front of the TV watching this telenovela. And, it's a moment that united us. And oh my God, I'm getting emotional talking about this. But yeah, it's just sad that I never, I came to the United States and I'm still not able to go back. And I never got to see him again. But we will always have that moment together. So thank you everyone for sharing your favorite telenovelas and your favorite telenovela moments with me. I will be taking another short break, and when I come back, I will reveal what telenovela I will be covering next. Stay tuned. And I am back. All right, so the moment you've all been waiting for. I'll just say, I don't know about y'all, but I had a really fun time reading these comments and talking just telenovelas in general with you all. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a review or share this with your friends, other people that you want to talk telenovelas with. And without further ado, y'all, I barely speak English. I don't know what I'm talking about. Without further ado, I think that's the correct word. We'll see. The next telenovela that I will be covering is the iconic, the one and only, the Hembra Mala Teresa. Y'all, I'm so excited to cover this one. It gets so many comparisons to Ruby, so I thought it'd be a good place to move towards next. Yeah, I'm so excited. Classic tale of a poor woman who doesn't want to be poor, who's going to use the resources she has to get where she wants. I love this telenovela. It has one of the most iconic lines in telenovela history, entre ser y no ser, yo soy. I will be inviting my friend Aranza Marmolejo Ramirez to talk to me about this telenovela. When I met Aranza like 3-4 years ago, somewhere around that, she always would say, entre ser y no ser, yo soy. Yeah, this telenovela marked her. I think that's still like her Twitter bio or her Instagram bio. And I'm so excited to talk to her about this telenovela and what she thinks entre ser y no ser means. And in addition, to Aranza being my very special guest, I will also be doing a collab episode with the wonderful ladies at Novelas con Cafecito, Cristina and Carmen. If you're not listening to Novelas con Cafecito, Cristina and Carmen are watching the entire telenovela of Teresa, and they are recapping every single episode. So that means that for every episode of Teresa, they are covering it. So go listen to them. I am so looking forward to our collab episode and talking to them about Teresa. They tell it how it is. They call out Teresa on her bullshit. It's just, I'm so looking forward to talking to them about Teresa. And so stay tuned for that. My first episode of Teresa will be dropping next week. I will have Aranza on as a guest, and we will move forward from that. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Telenovelas con Dulce. Please leave us a review if you like what you're listening. And don't forget to come back next week for our Teresa episode. See you soon!